Hello, everybody. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the Shopfloor, which is the OCA WMS application. First of all, quickly, a few words about me. I'm Simone Orsi. I'm 39. I live in Rome, in Italy. I'm a Python full stack developer since 13 years. I am a Vue developer since version 5, meaning OpenERP at that time. I am an OCA board member, an open source adept. Everything I've done so far in my life, both personally and for work, was always related technically to open source. And I'm a software architect at Camp2Camp. And you can find me basically everywhere as Simone on GitHub, Twitter, Discord, and Gmail. So this is the agenda of the talk. I'm gonna tell you what is it, and I mean what the WMS app is, that technology underneath it, and in particular, I'm gonna show you the concept behind the WMS part of this application. Then I'm going to show you quickly how you could build your own app on top of this, and then a few words regarding roadmap. So, what is it? Maybe you already attended the talk from last year by Joël Dranguillon from Camp2Camp. He showed a little bit an overview on the app. So what is it, especially technically? It's a web app. Actually, it's a PWA app, meaning progressing web app, which in the end means that you can install it from the browser and it's going to become almost like any other mobile app on your device. It leverages the REST API, if we consider the backend, of course. REST API from OCA, we will see it later. The front end is based on Vue Js. You can find it there in this repository. Today it stays in the OCA WMS because it was born there, and the core feature that we ship now is for the WMS, but probably well, we should think about a better position, at least for the base, as you will see. The technology. So on the backend side, everything is served through REST API. We have some REST API specific services that are built on top of the wonderful module by Axon, which is base REST. And this allows us to do several things that are very important in this kind of applications. So first of all, we can easily define those REST API, which is, yeah, not really a big deal, but it is when you have to code a lot of APIs. This allows us to validate request and response easily. The way it is done today by default is by using a specific Python library, which is called Cerberus, which allows you to define using Python dictionaries the schema of the data that you're going to receive or that you're going to send out. And the good part is that you can also well, first of all, it blocks everything that is not foreseen. So if you're receiving something, some key in the data that you didn't foresee and you planned it in the API, then this one is going to be discarded. So there is no noise. And also, on the other hand, when you send it out, if there is not, if the data is not in the schema, or if the schema that you are sending out is wrong, then you're going to get a warning. Well, actually, the app is going to be broken, but you will notice that you are sending out something that the API does not expect, which is also good for the documentation. So thanks to the system, we can have automatically generated endpoints. And on top of this, which is very, very important in all the this kind of system is that you have automatic open API docs, which means that not only you can provide documentation to external implementers, for instance, or for your front-end developers that might have to deal with the front end of the app, but also from Odoo, you can browse this documentation and you can also test it live. So you go there, you select the service that you're looking for. For instance, in our case, you have the delivery service to shipping goods out of the warehouse. So you go there and you can see all the endpoints, and you can also try them live. And when you try them out, you're actually calling Odoo for real and doing that action for real in the real database. So try it, but pay attention on the environment where you're playing it. Okay. And you can find this in the OCA REST framework repository. Another important piece of the stack regarding the backend is base JSONify. So of course, when you expose data through REST API, one of the things that you do most is just converting the data from Odoo to JSON to be able to read this from the front end. So we do this using base JSONify heavily. The good part is that it allows you to define easy and flexible parsers, which looks like this. So you have a list of keys, namely the fields that you want to send out. In the case that you see here, simple example, what we're going to send out is the ID of the record, of course, and then we're going to send out the name, but not using the name key as the destination. So in the resulting dictionary, you're going to see full name instead of name. And on the third case, you see that we can also use callable, so functions or lambda methods on a class. And in this way, we can take full control of what we send out. So the foo key is going to be converted into, it's going to be translated into the base value thanks to these functions. Of course, this is a silly example, but it's just to give you a tip on how you can leverage these parsers. Another good point is that you can configure parser for being reusable using IR exports, so that if you want to make some parser reusable and editable through the interface, you could do that. What's next? On the front, you have Vue Js, so pure Vue Js application. There is nothing to deal with the Odoo front end. It's completely built from scratch, and it's a single page application. So basically what happens is that when you access it the first time, you download everything, and then you never reload the application unless you want to reload some static resource. As probably most of you know, Vue.js uses a virtual DOM. It provides reactivity, which means that you can easily bind the UI to the records, and also makes everything fast. So the interaction and the reactivity of the UI is really fast. And an important plus is that we leverage a large ecosystem because, well, despite Odoo is growing a lot, nobody outside of the Odoo world, outside the Odoo community, knows about the Odoo.js framework, which also might change from time to time with the introduction of new libraries, as you know. So we decided to go to this direction to have something that had a large adoption outside of the Odoo world, to favor onboarding of external front-end developer, and also to stay more stable compared to the Odoo evolution. So the WMS part. The key concept of the WMS application is that it's completely backend driven in terms of the business logic. So there is no business logic in the front end. The front end is used only to present the data and to, of course, to see that, to use the application, the real application, the interface, but there is no business logic in there. So whenever you want to change the behavior, you have to do it in the backend. And this is also good because Odoo developers are normally familiar with what happens in a Odoo Python code, and that makes it easier. A key concept is also the scenario. So basically, each workflow, each process is defined as a scenario. A scenario can have several steps, like I pick the goods, I move the goods, etc., etc. And we have a state machine, which basically drives the transition of the process, and actually, well, all the screens are on each step of the workflow, and is the backend that gives you back the next state. So whenever you call an endpoint, you get back also, beside the data, you get back the next state. So the front end is going to switch to the next state automatically, and it's going to load the interface for it, or it's going to stay on the current state if the state didn't change. For instance, when you got an error or some missing data. Another core concept is that you get an app menu, so a menu application that you can configure through the backend, and you can configure these using profiles, specific profiles, Shopfloor profiles. So this means that whenever you log in the app, you, as we will see later, you can select the profile, and based on the profile that you selected, you will see some menu items, because this depends on what you have to do. And also they depend, well, what you can do with them depends on the picking type, on the type of operation. So there are certain things that you can do with a specific menu item that you cannot do with other specific menu item, even if the scenario is the same. And then you can have, on this menu, you can set up some configurable flags, which is going to allow you to configure the behavior of the front end, like I don't want to see this block, I want to see that block, and stuff like that. The scenarios that we have available today are the following. So we have a single pack transfer, zone picking, cluster picking, checkout, delivery, and location content transfer. They allow you to cover almost all the needs in a warehouse. One important scenario that is missing here is probably the reception screen, whereas you can receive the goods in the warehouse, but we will work on this soon. So a quick look on how the app, the WMS app, looks like. So on the first screenshot here on the left, you see that at the login screen, you know where you are. I mean, on which environment you're working on. This is very important, especially when you are testing and developing. So for the end user, it's also handy because they know where they are when they're using the app. And you can also see that the login now is based on an API key. So normally what you do is the end user does is that it enters his own API key. In the future, we will support also standard login with username and password. Then on the second screen, you see the settings, which tells you that you can configure many things in the app, and language, a profile, and a workstation. The most important one is then the one that I mentioned before, so the profile. And on the third screen, you see that you can select the profile. And once you do that, and only after you do that, you're going to see the screens on the right, on the last two screens. So in the fourth one, you see the home of the barcode app. There you see the full details of the menu items that you have available, meaning what you really can do. And in the full details includes also the scenario that you're using and the kind of the type of operations that you are able to manage with those menu items. And also you see the counters, which tell you how many operation you have to process or you could process with that particular menu item. And the last one, you see that you have basically a simplified menu in the drawer, and the one that hides and well overlaps with the screen, and there you find also other main action, like getting back to the home, the scan interface that we will see right after, and getting back to the settings and other you are and which profile you're using. So this is an example of what you get with a scan anything interface. So no matter where you are in the warehouse, you can hit the little icon that you see on top right with the search icon, and you're brought to the scan anything screen. The scan anything screen allows you to scan whatever type of barcode you want, being a packaging, being a package, being a product, being a lot, a pallet, whatever. And what you get is the full detail of that particular record. So in the first case, you see that we scanned a location, and then you can see all the goods reserved for that location. On the second screen, you see that we scanned a lot, likely because you see that there is an expiry date, a removal date, and you can see also suppliers and packaging. No, that's a product, sorry. Yeah, that's a product. On the third one, you see that we scanned a package, and the detail is going to tell you all the products that are included in this package. And the last screen shows you that we scanned a picking, so a label of a picking, and there you see all the details regarding the order, the customer, when it was scheduled, the kind of operation, carrier, and so forth. And then it tells you from where to where is going, and all the products, well, the operation lines that are to be processed. Another thing that you see here is that little edit icon allows you to edit the picking, and at the moment it allows you just to change the carrier on the fly. So the rest of the application looks like this. I just wanted to give you a quick overview on how it looks like in terms of UI, especially to show you that we established a color convention, and also to show you all the default widgets that we have in the application. Some highlights on top of these screenshots are, so in the first case, in the first screenshot on the left, you see that we are about to process a batch of picking with a cluster picking, and there you can either ask the system to tell you what to work on first with get work, or you can decide to go for manual selection and cherry pick what you want. And as the screen moves on the right, you see that at each state, there are certain things flagged as green, which means that something has been done already on that particular information. And the yellow ones are the ones that you still have to do. And for instance, in the screen, on the third screen here, where you see the boxes, retail box, PCs, etc., that's a very important widget, and it's a widget that allows you to select the quantity of the goods to move or to process using the packaging. So normally what you do is that you don't select the pieces, you select the boxes, because this is what the user is going to do in real life in the warehouse. In front of him or her, they have real packaging, so they're gonna pick the product based on those packaging, and this widget helps them doing so. In the rest of the screen, you see, yeah, as I said, a unified UI for this, and as well as in the last screen, you see that we can also show a progress bar depending on certain needs and depending on certain screens. In that case, it's about goods to be processed for going out of the warehouse, and there you see the process of what you already processed so far. So I'm going to tell you quickly that you can build your own mobile application on top of this. And why? Because the set of modules that we have in place are not only for WMS. So for the WMS part, we have Shopfloor, it's the main module, the backend one, and then Shopfloor_mobile is the UI for the WMS part. But we have also an independent core, which is Shopfloor based and Shopfloor mobile based, which allow you to create any kind of application based on this system. For this, we have to thank Axon for helping me and financing me splitting this core into out of the main shop for WMS application. So you can do this because the core of the application is reusable and pluggable. What we have defined on both backend and frontend are generic and specific components that you can reuse to build your own application. I repeat, I mean, it's both backend and frontend. So the backend, you can register services and expose them with their REST API quickly using the base components and the mixing that we provide. And the same in the front end, we have some mixing and we have some reusable components, like, for instance, I don't know, if you have to list objects or you have to display a detail of an object, you can reuse the existing components. Well, of course, you can design yours, but if you want to wait to save time and keep the same UI, if you like, then you can reuse them. And to ease the life of the front-end developer, it's plenty of registries. So you have a registry for the processes. For processes are actually scenario. So it's a generic word for scenario, whereas you can register both the workflow that you are, the process that you are defining, but also the routing of them. Same goes for different pages, for the translations, for the routing, and soon also for the authentication. So it makes really easy to plug in your own code. And you can find an example here in the Shopfloor example module, which is available in the same repository. And in this module, what you see is it's an example of registration of a custom service, a custom scan handler, which is actually what gets called when you use the scan anything interface. Even that piece is pluggable. So if you want, today we support product, packaging, everything related to the warehouse. In this case, I wanted to show you how you could plug a scan handler for partners. So in Shop, for example, you will be able to scan, for instance, the partner reference. Maybe you can print the reference as a barcode, and then you can scan them. And then also you can plug a custom UI. In these code examples, sorry for functional people, you can see how you can easily extend the UI. So in the first screenshot on top, you see that I'm creating a new process. So I inherit from a base mixin. I define my class, well, my JavaScript object, and then using the process registry, I can register it on the fly. And this is going also to give me the routing and everything automatically. And on the second screen, you see that I'm defining a new detail screen for when I want to display the detailed information about the partner. Quickly, some additional goodies around this ecosystem. So we have a base REST log module, which is integrated in with Shopfloor REST log, which allows you to track all the requests. And I can grant you that this is awesome when you are in the prototyping phase or you are in the testing phase with your customer and you don't know what's going on, maybe something went wrong. So in there, from the Odoo UI, you can see the full traceback, you can see the full request data. So it's very handy to track down what went wrong. You also have an automatic classification of the failures, and that helps you tracking down what's going on. Benoit, I think I have 5 minutes more, maybe, because we started late. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay, thank you.
And there is there are three questions.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I try to keep it short. So then you have Shopfloor delivery shipment, which is to prepare shipment and load the trucks. This is specific to the WMS part. And we have also Shopfloor workstation, which today allows you to set up a profile and printer automatically. So imagine that you are in the warehouse, but in any kind of office. You have a barcode attached to a specific workstation in your office, a specific place in your office. You go there, you scan this, the barcode, and then the application is going to be configured automatically based on the configuration that you provided from Odoo on the workstation setup. So quickly, the roadmap, decoupling of authentication, as I showed you today, is just about the API key, but we want to start for more. And what I'm working on right now is the standard user and password authentication. And also another step forward is the configurable app backend, so that you have a centralized backend for each application, and you can potentially have different type of application at the same time in the same system, which is not possible today without some hacking. And then, technically speaking, on the front-end part only, we have to refactor a bit of things like the state machine, the storage, and also we are working heavily on providing UI test coverage using Cypress. Final words, special thanks to Accretion for helping us with the first prototype of the app back in 2020, January 2020, and thanks to Axon for base rest and financing the split of the core last year. So, very fast. Thanks for listening, and now I think I'm open for questions.
Thanks for the talk. So first question was, is there any plan to make a Recip operation in WMS? I think you already.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we and also Accretion, I think, has the need of providing such screen. Today, what we use is stock reception screen. It's another module that we made, but it's in the stock logistic warehouse, as far as I remember, or workflow. Sorry, well, I will check later if you want. And that's just the same thing, allows to receive goods, but using the standard Odoo UI.
Okay, thank you. What would happen if we lose the network connection?
Well, in the case of the warehouse, is actually next to impossible to work without synchronous action, in the sense that when you're moving goods, I mean, you really want to do that in real time. Otherwise, you have someone else that is going to pick up the same goods or do something related to those goods, and that's not really nice. I mean, if you want to keep consistency, everything has to be synchronous. So the answer is you cannot work offline. Okay, if not for changing some local settings of the application, but specifically for the warehouse part, better you don't go offline. I hope this answers the question.
And two questions about the tools. I mean, is it configurable to have tools in the warehouse that we can carry out with WMS? I mean, I think there is already.
Tour? You mean Odoo tour or what?
In the I guess in the warehouse, when you the path you will use.
Okay. So I mean, decide which. Well, if I get it right, the application already tells you on which location you have to go, and it's going to. I mean, it's not the application that decides this. We have. Okay, all this work on the WMS part is built actually on top of many modules that we have done in the WMS repo or in the stock logistics repo, whereas we have pure Odoo modules that take care of several things, like providing you with the shortest path to delivering the good, or releasing the operation on time. Well, let's say managing the flow of each peaking, each move line. I mean, everything is done in the Vue backend. So the app is, as I mentioned before, for the WMS part, is backend driven. So it's really the backend that decide where you should go to do what you're doing. I hope this answered the question.
Yeah, I think and is it possible to prepare merchandise for multiple orders in a single operation tour? I think it's one of the scenario batch picking, I think.
The cluster picking, yeah.
Cluster picking.
Yeah.
So I think yes.
Yeah, on that scenario, you work on different. I mean, it's a batch of picking, so you should configure the batch picking in the backend, or having something that automates that, and then there you process several pickings at the same time.
Okay. And last question I get is it possible to use it in a simple warehouse? I mean, because your project is for a big warehouse, but
Yep.
is it usable for small? I think yes.
Well, of course. I mean, as I mentioned before, you can enable, for instance, you can enable the scenario that you want. I mean, from the Vue backend, you go there. If you just need, I don't know, a location content transfer, just use that, or you just configure one menu for that. Or if you want only delivery, for instance, because you handle the rest of the warehouse with something different, you can. If you want to manage only the shipment of the goods, same. So yeah, it's mostly about the configuration in this sense.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions. So if we don't want to be too late for the next talk, it's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for having
sharing.
For keeping the time, the schedule. It was
yeah, maybe too fast for someone, but yeah, I'm open for a question. I mean, join us on Discord. Yeah, exactly. If you want to move on with the discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.